Well, we've got with the State Representative Alex Andrade. Alex, thank you for coming on this morning. We've just finished another special session going back and looking at the immigration laws that y'all have passed and the governor signed. But I think what most people have been fascinated about and not really understanding is this undercurrent that's been happening between the legislature and the governor's office and just how this got played out, because it seems like everybody's declaring victory, but the bill is not that different. I mean, well, there's some significant changes, but not really from what y'all passed the first time. So talk
Well,
about
yeah, I
behind the
mean,
scenes.
for starters, the bill that has now been, I guess, like agreed to by everybody, including the governor. Some of the biggest differences between that and the bill that the legislature passed that the governor was railing against is it's got half as much money going to go towards actually refunding and supporting local law enforcement officers who are engaging in this immigration enforcement. Like the vast majority of illegal immigration enforcement that's going to happen in Florida is going to be done by our sheriff's departments. So in the bill that DeSantis railed against, we had $500 million going to a pot of money to go help local law enforcement offset the costs of housing illegal immigrants and engaging in these enforcement efforts. The bill that DeSantis said he was okay with had half as much money, $250 million in it. I think the governor went on his press tour, his taxpayer funded press tour a while back, saying that, this was a camel's nose under the tent. He called it the fox in the hen house with, the ag commissioner being the chief immigration officer. Well, the compromise that made the governor happy was instead of having a single elected executive be the immigration officer, now we have a committee. So the ag commissioner, the attorney general, the CFO, and the governor are all equal members of this committee. And the committee is designated as the immigration officer. And one key hilarious part to me is that the ag commissioner, who DeSantis said is, all about amnesty and is a secret liberal, a super secret liberal, has a full veto authority, can veto anything that this committee decides to do, just like the CFO has a veto and the attorney general has a veto. So um, it felt intellectually dishonest to act as if, this compromise was suddenly more conservative than what we'd passed previously. It wasn't. It was about 95% of everything we passed in the Trump Act that he hated is still in this current bill. And the main difference is less money. And instead of having one executive answering to the voters, we have a committee.
Well, and for the listeners, what this means with the less money is that this could conceivably be the cost of doing this will now be translated to local taxpayers. That the county who fund the sheriff's office, if the sheriff goes beyond the funding that's available, it's going to be the taxpayers here
Yeah, and
that are going to be
and
paying
one
for it.
thing that the bill is completely silent on is the enforcement of e-verify. I mean, the governor's got a bad track record of
Mhm.
enforcing e-verify. Like, he's had the authority to enforce e-verify and require employers to use e-verify for 4 years. We passed that statute about 4 years ago, and he's done zero. Like, there's literally nothing has been done on e-verify in 4 years. This bill doesn't change that. So maybe, in the future, if the governor wants to, he can start enforcing e-verify and use the tools we've been giving him for the past 6 years. We've had an illegal immigration bill, a high-profile illegal immigration bill passed almost every single year that I've been in the legislature, beginning with our ban on sanctuary cities in my first year in office, Governor DeSantis' first year in office. So maybe he'll start actually using the tools we've been giving him for 6 years, and hopefully this bill helps move forward so we can all kind of get past the press tours and the talking points and actually get back to real business.
How much does it usually cost? Have y'all estimated what it costs to do these, this daily press conference tour that he does around the state, at least 3 to 4 times a week? What have y'all any indication of how
On a
much that
per
costs?
trip basis, no, but I mean, like, we have 4 full-time employees that operate his private jet, and the private jet's not cheap, and several $1 million for the jet. So just on the jet
Right.
maintenance and the 4 employees alone, it's pretty significant.
Now you haven't been shy. Well, you've never been shy in voicing your opinion, but you've been pretty vocal about the governor on this. That uh, his beating his chest and how he's more conservative or being more aggressive. You've been
Well,
pretty. You've called
keep
him out
keep in
on it.
mind, I got elected in 2018, the same year he did. So I've been there, with him, and we've passed pieces of legislation to help support him. Like the legislature, we're a co-equal branch. Every time DeSantis does a bill signing as some like celebratory visit to a different part of the state, every time he goes and celebrates a bill signing, that means the legislature gave him something to sign. And so I mean, like,
Mhm.
in reality, I mean, when people go back and look at his time in office, I mean, he's the 101st House member, he's the 41st senator, like he's the legislator in chief. If he's really just claiming a bunch of bills he's signing as victories, there's not much as far as like on the administration side that you can kind of point to. I mean, like, even during COVID, we were there supporting everything he was doing with, trying to reopen businesses, fighting against the vaccine mandates. Like, I personally, I filed and sponsored and passed the bill that says the government will never force a citizen to get vaccinated. Like, every step of the way, we've been there. Like he's not the only one that took arrows during the COVID shutdowns, fighting to keep Florida free. Like, I got called a murderer every single day for 2 years. I got told I had blood on my hands every single day for 2 years. So for him to go and like kind of like rile up not the base of our party, but like just the crazy part of our base who like desperately wants to think the Florida legislature is DC. I thought it was just inappropriate because I mean we've been there as partners with him for 6 years. It's like he like ran out of people to fight, and so he turned the gun inwards. Because I mean we've been there.
Well, and you look at it, and you mentioned this. You and I have talked over the last week or so. Is that the bots got turned on you? That people that they weren't other real people. They got galvanized by whoever we don't know for sure, but you were under attack by trying to you and several of your fellow lawmakers were getting these posts on Twitter and
Well, I
attacking
don't even
y'all.
like using the words like attack or anything because the crazy thing about Twitter is I pause my phone and flip it over and it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like a foxhole. I don't feel like I'm being attacked. I got almost zero phone calls from any
Right,
constituents, almost zero constituents reaching out to me.
right,
Um, like if Twitter was real life, DeSantis would be in the White House. Like, DeSantis won Twitter over Trump during that primary, and DeSantis got crushed by Trump in the actual real life primary. And it's like unfortunate the rhetoric got escalated because again, like, he should be able to spend his last 2 years in the governor's mansion solidifying his legacy as an incredibly staunch conservative governor. Like, I still respect him and his team very deeply. I mean, like, I was one of the biggest champions for a lot of the stuff he worked on. Like, take this immigration bill. There's stuff in the immigration bill that I would have liked to see in there. You know what I mean? There's stuff in most bills that if I was king for a day, I'd want in there. The difference is
right.
is that as a legislator, I know I can't let perfect be the enemy of good, and there is some kind of give and take. Like, I didn't file the bill. Governor DeSantis didn't file the bill. We had legislators, other colleagues file these bills. And because they filed the bills and they chose to champion these issues, and I agree with 95+% of like everything in what the governor's dream bill was, I was like, great. Everything in the Trump Act bill that we passed, I said, great. Everything in this current bill, I said, great. Like, just don't be a jerk. Don't act like don't be an ass and celebrate the fact that we're moving and rowing in the same direction. And I think that's what's been lost in a lot of this is like the very next day after this stuff was passed, Governor DeSantis came out and said, hey, we should look at eliminating the property tax. And I said, absolutely. Great idea, Governor. Like, we should keep working on that. Like, I've moved past this because, again, it was a strong, like, the bill he signed last week is the strongest legislation policy implementation of any state in the country on illegal immigration. Had he signed the Trump Act, it would have been the same thing. So for
Right.
DeSantis to get caught up on commas and periods, you know what I mean? Like, for that kind of stuff to derail, this conservative movement and what we've built is just that was the frustrating part. But like, hopefully we can get back to business now and rack up some more wins for the folks that put us in office.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what the session is. How many days?
Yeah,
A couple of
this is
weeks
our last
away.
committee week
When
this week,
the
so I'm
session?
driving back to Tallahassee early tomorrow
Okay.
morning.
Okay. All right. This is to me is fascinating to watch. So I appreciate you talking about it. Another issue that came up last week is for a long time, your firm has been the city attorney for the city of Milton. They had a vote last week. Y'all over pretty much wanting to go a different way on the public records lawsuit with dealing with the mayor of Milton. What's y'all's take on it? We've got kind of the News Journal's take on it. And Tom McLaughlin is a longtime great reporter out of Okaloosa County. But what's your take on what's happening? And what is your firm
Yeah,
done?
I mean, for background for anyone who's not following along, last May 2024, the city council voted to file suit against the mayor, Heather Lindsay, to enforce the Public Records Act. Judge Duncan in Santa Rosa County issued an order about 16 days ago saying that of documents that she'd refused to turn over to us, but that he'd reviewed, she needed to turn over about 1,000 pages of public records to the city by today, Monday the 17th. Last week, the city council, who has 4 new members on it, voted to, no questions asked, dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice, essentially kind of like midstream before she turned over these public records. All of that being said, on Friday, we sent a letter to the city citing the ethics rules that say if representation would lead to a violation of a professional code of conduct or breaking the law, we have to terminate the attorney-client relationship. So we terminated the attorney-client relationship last week, and we filed a motion with Judge Duncan to withdraw as the city's counsel. So the lawsuit's not currently dismissed. We just, because we can't comply with the order that we believe would be an ethical violation, we have to terminate that relationship.
Okay. All right. Well, Alex, you got committee meetings. Maybe at the end of the week, we'll catch up and you can kind of fill me in on what's going on. We do have in this week's issue of In Weekly coming out on Thursday. Thank you for doing an interview with us on the property tax, homeowners insurance that you and Senator Don Gates are on. I think for readers and listeners, this is something that you want to pay attention to because we haven't really moved the needle much on reducing premiums. And I think thank you for doing that. And we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, but that's a big story that we've got coming out this week. All right. We'll go ahead and end this one and we'll get going.
Thanks,
Alex, have fun in Tallahassee.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, and to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.